What's up, guys? It's me, Vince Ryder, and yeah, I did it. Pretty much. Well, when was it? It was Christmas that I bought The Witcher, Wild Hunt, last year, Christmas 2021. And as I'm recording this, around April, I finished it. Took me 4 months, and my goodness, this game was long. It was really they were not playing around when they say like this is the longest game. I thought the ending, this is not any spoilers or anything. I thought the ending was going to be something of surrounding to go to Skellige to find a particular someone, but I didn't know there was a lot of things to add on to it. And yeah, as I'm recording this, there is an announcement of Witcher 4 that is announced, but I want to talk about Witcher 3. And my goodness, I love this series. Now, I did watch the Netflix. I didn't really fall in love with it. I probably should watch it. And pretty much surround the characters. If anything, I love Geralt more than ever. Like I just, really care about him. And man, I've seen everything. I've seen what he's been through. I've seen the challenges. I've seen also like just how he's yeah, they say like he's the Batman of the olden times, which is true. He's the Elden Batman. But man, like also seeing all around these characters from Triss to Ciri to Radovid to even Dandelion, he was a treat. I just noticed that Kaer Morhen happens to have people from that are not from like Skellige or surround the areas of like Novigrad or any of those places. Uh, there is some American accents that are from Kaer Morhen. I wonder what's that about. Like the northern you from that just like, but then again, you have the others that are sort of like very Scandinavian-ish. So you have some Scandinavian, um, you know, kind of like variety there. And there's one thing I like about The Witcher, and I don't know if this is like a controversial kind of, the reason why I didn't really fall in love with the Netflix, they didn't really go into the dwelling of its authentic European form. The Witcher created in Poland and also is somewhat based in like a very like in the UK, and then you go north, it turns into Finland or something, and then in some part of the areas it's like also has like some Italian influence, I guess. The Witcher itself is based in that European, aesthetic and form, and it really makes me feel like I'm actually in those times. From the world itself, from meeting the people, from meeting, seeing the buying the the merchant, and pretty much how everything is in that very, ancient like, setting of its uh European and processor. Pretty much I really do like how everything is just steady in its way of being somewhat catered into this very like Victorian time of where the Witcher is based, going off and pretty much doing his deeds. And it's like, you sort of get a sense like a lot of fairy tales are sort of started in the places that the Witcher goes to, whether it's around, the area from, Temeria or Valen or Skellige even. Like, I just feel like there is that setting of what it's based in. And that's why I like this game. Now, obviously, every time, whenever I play The Witcher itself, I always say to myself, like, okay, don't think about Skyrim, okay? But I can't help but feel like it is so like Skyrim. It is so inspired, and I couldn't help but feel like there is a part of like Valen or pretty much the areas that Geralt goes to here in The Witcher in the game. If you look at the map, there, man, I get this feeling like Skyrim is sort of like hiding around at least the same universe in this planet of the Witcher universe. Who knows? That could be something that is a little too crazy out there. Many people might say, "Oh yeah, well I guess Elden Ring could be in the same universe." Well, I don't know. It's just that this game really takes me out. Out from the here in the U.S. and pretty much puts me into another country, puts me into another world, and especially the amount of hours and the amount of times that I have been dedicated to play this game, it was really worth it. I bought this when it was on sale, and man, that was a steal because this game was just so good. It was so fun. It was one of the best. I never played an RPG this good. And I feel like there's still so much to play from this game. But from what I got from the story, I feel like it just wasn't enough. That's why I'm just so happy and excited for Witcher 4. Now, yeah, I'm going to talk about spoilers and stuff like that. I feel like I shouldn't. I feel like you should play this game. You should definitely buy it. It's worth it. The RPG elements, the crafting, the potions. I can go all on all day about the skill tree that it has, that it really manipulates your power and everything. This game really has a lot of influence from fairy tales to horror stories that is sort of centered around olden areas or ancient times of the empires and stuff like that. It really has a mix of all of that surrounding the universe of The Witcher, and I really dig Geralt as a character. Geralt of Rivia really is one of my favorite male protagonists in gaming right now as I'm done playing with this. But also, like, I kind of really, I like the other characters as well. But it's just that Geralt carries everything, especially with Ciri around, and also with, Yennefer and everything. Pretty much you try to find, like, which relationship you want to really go with here and there. You kind of built that way, it's just like, I don't know, many other people that play this game are way better than me. Obviously, I'm not going to do this like Angry Joe reviews or some GameSpot, journalist that happens to be top tier in reviewing games or talking about the mechanics, because I'm doing this off listed. I'm doing this from my experience. And my experience is, personally for me, I feel like I was in the old ancient times of the United Kingdom when actually discovering this game and going through every area and just seeing, because I was just curious, what was all the hype when this game was released? There was a lot of hype about The Witcher. And also a lot of hype, especially surrounding the fact that it was on the Switch. People didn't realize it was going to be that possible. Yeah, there was a couple of glitches, very, very few, that I noticed that in The Witcher that is in the Switch. It wasn't going to be perfect, but I was just surprised that it run well. I was just surprised that it didn't really bother me with through the gameplay, and I really do enjoy myself. Like, this game is definitely worth, especially the many quests you do, the many contracts, and also like the treasures that can go on full. Pretty much you got to keep your bag empty. It has a 90 pack, so pretty much, especially with the saddles and also the swords and the armor, can really make your bag heavy. So the heavier it is, pretty much Geralt just walks slow, like very slow. But I saw this game true, like, from the beginning to the end, it just hits perfectly. Now the story goes all over the place, but there is a lot of areas that is so interesting that the story really puts it well because of the environment that it's set in, and just how well the fighting mechanics and everything. The way I was upgrading, Geralt, and of course Ciri was cool to actually play as, but there was just something about Geralt, especially building the skill that I was building in the beginning when I was at the bar of that, of the other area that I can't name because I haven't really go there much. I think it's Vizima. But, building up, his skills and everything like that, there's a lot of, impact that this game really has in terms of like what I got from it and how much, plays a good influence of this like fairy tale driven world almost. I don't know. I don't know really what much to say about this game other than the fact that I enjoyed it. I had fun. It was a good binge game. Pretty much a very long one itself. I feel like this game itself is for anyone that is comfy enough to actually go for that amount of hours to play it. But I just it's just shocking that I finished it. Like, this game was long, but my goodness, it really does feel like a full-on book that pretty much I feel like reading books that I read pretty much would be like more shorter than playing the whole entire game that lasted for like 4 months. But out of that 4 months, especially the fact that I was studying and all that and have all work and all, being busy, I still feel like, it just wasn't enough. It was just a good amount. That's how good the game is, and that's what you need from it. And that's what I got. And man, I spent a good amount of cash to actually really got myself to really enjoy this game from beginning to end. So many areas that I don't know how to make it perfect, but for me, I really enjoyed it, you know, especially how it's a lot of influence from Skyrim, or at least, if you're familiar with Skyrim, you're actually going to be somewhat of of a pro playing The Witcher. At least to me, because I was playing this. I was like, oh, okay, I gotta remember what the Skyrim gameplay, and boom, I officially attached myself to actually somewhat model myself to be professional, or I guess somewhat good in novice to play The Witcher. But it really doesn't take a pro. It's just like any other game out there. But man, it's a treat. You know, Especially how there's a lot of feels of Dark Souls or Elden Ring that I got from playing this. Especially from going to caves and going to areas, and it's not too scary of a game. There are some parts that is a little bit too scary, but it's not enough to actually spook you out or anything. It's just like there's challenges. Scary things would actually be me trying not to screw up the story as I die, and then you're dead, and then pretty much you're going through this rut of just like, especially there's some frustrating moments where you're like really try to win. I mean, I had some moments where I'm like, what? Are you serious? You know, and there's parts where I like, just take a break and like, I'm gonna come back to this. But definitely worth, it's not really for anyone that's like, it's not an easy game. I feel like, I don't know. I can't really speak for anyone else that would actually play this game and that is from like, some other backgrounds that are a little bit more easier, and or ones that are not actually really much into gaming. But from what I got, this is the ultimate package of a game, And it just feels like a long book that you're reading, because there is a lot of reading in this game. I like games that have involved you a lot, do a lot of reading in terms of like finding books and just discovering what they are. That's why I enjoyed of Skyrim and Genshin Impact, is that the books you can read, and especially with this game, there are some books, but also it really helps you attach to the story of the game, and really gets you to the objective of different points and here and there. And the world itself of The Witcher is so dark, it is so terrifying. I can imagine, like, it's so sad, like, not only with the poverty but just the monsters surrounding it. The people living in the world of The Witcher couldn't catch a break. I feel bad for anyone living in that world, despite how you can actually be a sorceress or a witcher or whatever. Still, was sad. And also, there's other parts in this game I wasn't really into the whole playing Gwent. In the game, I was not into playing the train cars, everything, or card game. It's Gwent, the original Gwent, not the mobile Gwent. But this original Gwent, and pretty much there are some factors that, being good at Gwent, you get new cards in here and there. I didn't care. I really didn't care much about that. That horse racing was fun, I guess, but the treasure hunting was something that I really like. So that's it's because that I get to actually listen to a couple of podcasts while I'm treasure hunting and stuff like that, and discovering the world and also seeing different islands. And, one thing that I did is that I actually literally, when I was playing the game, I was, I didn't need a helm, which is a boat. They call it the helm. I guess that's an ancient term of a British boat. But for this one, or not British boat, or some like boat in Europe, that in this one I can just swim. I could just swim to the islands, and I don't really like. Of course, it's a game itself. Nothing has to be logical or realistic. So it just paints as Geralt, the type of person to actually almost be like a person that is never cold, that is never freezing. He's swimming in water up north of the frozen icy cold in the foggy weather mixed with rain. Like, dude, like hypothermia, is that a thing? I guess not. I guess not for witchers. I guess, like that's if I was swimming, I probably would die for even just, 60-degree weather water. I don't know. But man, the ridiculousness of just like some, especially some of the objectives here and there, some of them are not really crazy or anything like that, but some of them actually, most of them or all of them, lead to something. That's what I find interesting in the game. It leads to something. That's what I like about it. And like, I'm trying to think of what else to really talk about this game, because there is just a lot. Like, this video, I feel like an hour video wouldn't really do justice. It has to be like, parts of really talking about The Witcher that would actually get it to actually really tell you something, especially the story surrounding some of the characters. Like, my favorite was the Baron. the Red Baron or the Bloody Baron is basically one of my favorites, and I felt so much for him. This game itself, if I gotta be honest, there's something about it that really speaks to many fathers, as a father figure. Because, Geralt sees himself as a father towards to Ciri. And Ciri, pretty much literally Geralt said in the game, no spoilers, Ciri is like a daughter to me. Really does mean that. And I felt that, you know? For sure, but almost like, like a mentor instead of like, because Suri does have a father does that, she doesn't like, again, no spoilers, but it's just that, I do sense that, being the man that is, like something of that nature, I guess, just being a father figure, and I see that through the Red Baron and just what he has been through, what he could have done, the guilt that he felt, and, him just suffering through it. I just felt bad for him. At first, I didn't really, I was like, okay, he was this old and dude, like with a, big belly beard and everything. But man, I felt bad for him. You feel bad for a lot of characters here in the game of The Witcher, like, and it just made me interested to know about like what were the games before it, what were, because this is The Witcher 3, what were the books, what were the characters. I never heard of any of this. I'm coming this new, on my own, and pretty much I'm already like, learning yourself, pretty much you don't really need, or at least from what I heard, you don't need to actually play the previous games or the books or none of that. You can jump into this game. You don't need to know anyone. You don't need to know the history. It does help. It does actually. I'm just curious. Like, okay, what is Siri really important for Geralt? Why is Dandelion important? Like, okay, this random dude that happens to be like almost like a botter for Geralt, but Geralt cares. Like, he doesn't show it, but he cares. He's, cold hearted and stuff like that. It's like, yes, I'm here for the let me think of like what Geralt would say. Get out the way. I need you to leave. Like something like he's literally like I just sound like Batman. But Geralt is just like cold hearted itself. But it really means something because of course you choose the words for him and stuff like that. I feel like being cold hearted, like just being like move out the way, or just like I don't think you hear me, something like that would actually make it a something more believable story itself. As there's times where I made decisions where I paint Geralt as the nice person. I can only imagine Geralt being, noticing that and be like, Vince, I swear, what are you doing? Why would you choose that? It's just like I don't know. I'm not that type of person. Like, I'm a nice guy, Geralt. I can give you a chance. Like, I just feel bad, man. Like, I couldn't paint him like a badass, but I don't know. That's not me. Anyways, yeah, that's just my review itself of The Witcher Wild Hunt. Hope this is long enough to actually make you realize, like, it's a big game. It's a big game. Like, what is it, 70 hours set time? Man. Well, pretty much that's 70 hours painted itself to, like, 4 months. So enjoy all that free time. I recommend playing it. Like, I guess, there's parts of it that you don't need to actually go through. You can just take breaks here and there like I did. But man, it's a big game. So just heads up. Anyways, I'll see you when I see you. One love. And yeah, The Witcher Wild Hunt, 9 out of 10 stars. Peace.